A company is offering to resurrect your deceased loved ones using AI. Astronauts are going to get rid of the diapers because they can now drink their urine. And the first ever cheese museum is opening in Paris. These are the weird stories on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast. Companies are offering to resurrect your deceased loved ones with AI avatars. Nothing creepy to be seen here, guys. Move along, move along. Black Mirror episodes are truly coming to life now. Have you noticed that? This story's out of Taiwan. Whenever stress at work builds, Chinese tech executive Sun Kai turns to his mother for support. Or rather, he talks with his digital avatar of a mother on a tablet device. His mother's digital avatar has been rendered from the shoulders up by AI to look and sound just like his real mother, who passed away in 2019. Now, for Sun, he gets a lot out of this avatar of his mother. He says, quote, "I do not treat the avatar as a kind of digital person. I truly regard it as my mother." He estimates that he converses with her avatar at least once a week. He says, quote, "I feel that this might be the most perfect person to confide in without exception." Well, I would slow it down there, buddy. That's the internet listening to everything you say to your mother. Next thing you know, you're going to be hit with some targeted ads through this. Your mother avatar is going to be trying to sell you hiking boots. I mean, I don't know. This is what happens, right? Don't forget hackers. Yeah. Next thing you know, you got kids being like, "Mommy, Grandma's avatar is telling me I need to hand over some Bitcoin. How did this happen? I didn't know Grandma even liked Bitcoin. She can't stop talking about it. At least her avatar can't." The company that made this avatar of Sun's mother is called Silicon Intelligence, where Sun is also an executive that works there. Okay, so he's not exactly biased. Of course he's going to say that this is something that he regards truly as his mother. He's trying to sell the business. They're saying that this is a boom in technology startups in China based around the world that creates AI chatbots using a person's likeness and voice, and that they're using it to bring back to life people that have left your life. The idea to digitally clone people who have died is not new, but until recent years has been relegated to the realm of science fiction. But now increasingly powerful chatbots, which have been trained on huge amounts of language data and serious investment in computing power, have enabled private companies to offer affordable digital clones of real people, especially your dead friends. These companies are trying to set out to prove that relationships with AI-generated entities can become very mainstream. For some clients, the digital avatars they produce offer companionship. In China, they have also been spun up to cater to families in mourning who are seeking to create a digital likeness of their lost loved ones, a service that Silicon Intelligence calls, quote, resurrection. Now, the rise of these AI simulations, especially of the deceased, or what some people call dead bots, this raises questions about clear answers regarding ethics of simulating human beings, dead or alive. In the U.S., companies like Microsoft and OpenAI have created internal committees to evaluate the behavior and the ethics of their generative AI services, but there is no centralized regulatory body in either the U.S. or China for overseeing the impacts of these technologies or their use of a person's data. Yeah, and I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. I think the U.S. government's still using floppy disks. They don't know what the hell's going on. They didn't. Did you see when the Facebook guy was on trial? Like the questions that he was getting, like it was like these idiots in government didn't understand what social media was, and that was only like 5 years ago. Now, in case you're wondering what this costs, the deadbots services, and what it takes to get them going, Silicon Intelligence's most basic digital avatar for your dead granny costs about $30 and requires less than 1 minute of high-quality video and audio of the person while they were living. It only requires 1 minute, and they can use that 1 minute of video and audio to just create this avatar that I suppose can have these conversations with you, a relationship with you. It's pretty amazing what AI is doing. It says, in addition, clients are asked to describe their foundational memories and important experiences or that of their loved ones. The company then feeds these stories into existing chatbots to power an AI avatar's conversations with the client. So in addition to the video and audio, you got to you just pipe in some stories about your grandma or your dead relatives. You know, you tell them about the time that grandma had way too much fun at Hooters. Now, this company is saying ideally for a digital clone to be truly lifelike, they would need much higher volumes of data, with clients preparing at least 10 years ahead of time by keeping a daily diary. So I guess you would, if you're preparing to kick it, start keeping a diary that then your relatives can feed into an avatar so that they can talk to you for eternity. I guess it would be difficult to get your relatives on board with that.
Why do you keep telling me to keep a diary? What's the deal? 'Cause, Grandma, we want to create a digital avatar. That's you. It's called a dead bot. We want a dead bot of you. So if you could just write down everything you're thinking every day. I don't appreciate this. And you're trying to put me in a home.
Now, the article goes on to say that most people who have decided to digitally clone their loved ones are quick to admit every person grieves differently. And one person is quoted as saying, "I do not recommend this for some people who might see the avatar of your dead relative and feel the full intensity of grief again." So that would be a downside if someone couldn't handle it. But for some people, this could be very doable and workable and appreciable and something they could utilize daily in their life, speaking to their dead mother or whoever. I could see the allure in this and the functionality of it, of course. I mean, I'd speak to my car on a regular basis. You know, I speak to my car as if my car is a person. She gets me. She understands me. I tell her my problems. You know, I ask her if she's enjoying the music that we're listening to. Lately, it's been a lot of Pete Rock and CL Smooth going on from Mecca and the Soul Brothers circa 1992, and she's from what I can see, she's enjoying it. So I can see a dead avatar working out as well. The problem is hackers hacking into your dead relative's avatar, and then they say very, very frightening things to you and hurtful things. Next thing you know, you find yourself at a CVS buying all these gift cards that you got to send to some Nigerian prince. You know how it goes, guys. Anyways, how do you feel about this from an ethical standpoint? Call the show 646-450-2012. Mwah. Astronauts could ditch diapers thanks to a new device that lets them drink their pee. Ooh, a new device that lets them drink their pee. What is that, a straw? Ooh, let's learn about this insane space technology that's going down. Venturing outside of the International Space Station is challenging enough without having to worry about nature calling in the middle of your spacewalk, having to pee in the middle of your spacewalk, having to poop in the middle of your spacewalk. How annoying. Now scientists say scientists have devised a new way to capture astronaut pee and recycle it into drinkable water within minutes. Recycle your pee into drinkable water within minutes. This is insane. What is this, some Bear Grylls activity? That guy drinks his pee. Did you guys know that? He drinks his pee often. For years, astronauts on spacewalks around the ISS have relieved themselves using a disposable diaper inside their spacesuit known as a maximum absorbency garment, also known as a MAG. These garments, first designed in the early 1980s, collect and store urine, enabling astronauts to go on the go. But given spacewalks can sometimes take up to 8 hours, MAGs can leave astronauts physically uncomfortable and at risk of skin irritation and infection. So instead, you drink your pee. How about that? I would love to be in the room when they pitch this. Guys, got awesome news. You don't have to wear those annoying diapers anymore, but there's a catch. Now, here's the technology. A new lightweight system can collect and purify 1.69 fluid ounces of water from urine within a person's spacesuit and in just 5 minutes. The system would involve astronauts wearing an undergarment that's made from a flexible compression material and lined with antimicrobial fabrics. The system also includes a humidity sensor that senses urine. The sensor sits within a silicone cup beneath the wearer's genitalia. The detection of pee switches on a vacuum pump and then draws the urine up into the filtration device carried on the astronaut's back. This is a lot to just drink your pee, man. I don't need some fancy gadget to drink my pee. I'm old school, man. Right out of a Dixie cup. Down the hatch, guys. You know what I'm talking about, right? Oh, right. Frat houses were so fun. Now it says this new system is still in its initial testing stage. However, if it makes it through development, it could help solve a dilemma for astronauts engaging in space exploration. The issue of how to deal with urine on spacewalks is particularly relevant considering that NASA plans to establish a permanent outpost on the moon by the end of the decade. Yeah, I mean, you've solved the pee problem, but there's another problem. What about the poo? What about the old number 2? What about the old deucer? What about the old Lincoln log? What are you going to do about that, NASA, huh? Is there a way to eject it out of the suit so it just goes floating through space? Look, a space log, Mama! Oh my God, I just spit on my computer screen when I said that for some reason. That is disgusting. Sorry. You guys are like, why don't you do video of your recording? Because I'm doing weird things over here, guys. You don't need to see any of this. Anyways, that's the end of that. They're hoping astronauts are going to go diaper-free during their space explorations and drink their pee. And I'm sure that this is probably also going to be required for Amazon delivery drivers within a couple of years once they find out about this technology, because they want their employees to work, 9 to 5, and I'm peeing in my mouth because I get no breaks. I'm not allowed to hit the bathroom, and this is ground control to Major Tom. I've really gotta pee, but the new system allows me to drink my pee here in my sipping on my tinkles. The first ever cheese museum opens in Paris. How fitting, opening up a cheese museum in Paris in time for the Olympics as well. So if you guys are over there watching the Olympics, well, you should swing by the cheese museum. It sounds like an amazing field trip. I love weird museums. I've been to many strange museums, including the Museum of Disgusting Food, where coincidentally I ate some very smelly cheeses in there. They didn't make me that sick. Eating the bug made me a little upset, but I pushed through it. Sorry for the delay. Let's do the article about the cheese museum. Oh, I should say, she is a museum. How do you say cheese in French? Fromage? Say cheese, and Pierre Brisson is a happy man. The 38-year-old founder of France's first Musée du Fromage is passionate about the subject of cheese. Not just eating it, but passing on the traditional skills of cheese making to future generations. Here's a quote from our guy Pierre Brisson, which has got to be the most ultimate French name. It's not easy job, but a marvelous one. There's a real risk that it could disappear. I wanted to do something so people understand at what point there is an ancestral savoir-faire in making the cheese. All right, I'm really not doing this French accent any justice. Let's continue the quote from Pierre. We hear a lot about wines and how they are made and the subtleties of taste and how they are produced, and nothing about cheese, really. Although people like eating it, and the demand for cheese is still very high. Fewer youngsters want to make a career of the cheese, though, I've noticed. Well, let them know, Pierre. Let them know they can have a cheese career. I never knew I could have a career in cheese. Had I known, maybe I wouldn't have never gotten into comedy and podcasting. Maybe I would have been in the cheese business. I love cheese. Sounds like a good time. And you know what? It goes along with wine. So if you're in the cheese business, you're probably in the wine business, Pierre. How about some PR for this gig? Do you want to get paid to eat cheese and wine? I never saw that as a job offer. If it was there, I'm applying. Last week, Pierre's team was rushing to complete this museum. And it's a short stroll from the Notre Dame Cathedral. Visitors will be charged €20 for an adult and 10 for a child to watch a demonstration of how various cheeses are made, as well as take part in a tasting and learn the history of cheese and regional varieties through interactive displays. Farmers and agriculture students will be allowed in for free. This sounds lovely. I would love to learn how to make various cheeses, and I would love to partake in the tasting of such various cheeses. Just saying. I like cheese. I got some good cheese in my fridge right now. It's some goat cheese. It's a good goat cheese, man. I like goat cheese because it's got a little sweetness to it. I've been putting it on a cracker. I put the cheese on a cracker. You want to have a cracker? You want to come over for a cracker? What do you want to do? You want to get a cracker? Let's get a cracker. You want to put some goat cheese on a cracker? Let's do it. I'll put some goat cheese on a cracker. Do you know some of my earliest memories of hanging out with my grandpa? I called him Papa. He was an old Irish man, was eating cheese and crackers in the living room while watching Red Sox games in the evening. He did that almost every night in his little recliner. He would eat cheese and crackers and watch the Red Sox, and me and my cousin would hang out with Papa and have the cheese and crackers. Now, Papa was not much of a cheese connoisseur. He's not somebody that Pierre would hang out with. Although if Pierre did hang out with Papa, he would definitely turn him on to some real extravagant cheeses, which is what Papa needed in his life. Although Papa was a very cheap man, he lived during the Depression, so I don't think he'd be spending a lot on cheese. This is what he had. We're talking basics: Ritz crackers and something called Whispread, Wispread. I remember it very clearly. It was like an orange. I guess you'd call it. It had port wine cheese vibes, but it was not. It was a cheap spread. Occasionally Cracker Barrel, cheddar, cut up the pieces, but just cheap cheese. But as a child, I went crazy for Ritz crackers with some Cracker Barrel on it. Anyways, personal stories from Jonesy. Not sure if you wanted that. Don't care. Back to the story and the history of this cheese museum. Pierre says, quote, "When I moved to Paris, I realized there were lots of places promoting wine, its culture, how it's made. There were some shops selling cheese, lots of shops selling cheese, but nothing showing people how cheese is made." So Pierre has opened his museum and recruited half a dozen cheesemakers to help visitors understand the art of producing different varieties from live milk, including the role of bacteria and the animals and the land on which they graze, making it, quote, a live museum. So it's happening right there in front of your face, man. Oh, I went to the Guinness Museum. Oh, that was amazing. I watched them making Guinness live in front of my face. And then they gave me 2 drink tickets to have 2 free Guinness at the end. And I was like, this isn't enough. I want a dozen Guinness. Feed me. Okay. Now, you might be surprised to learn that France has 56 official cheese appellations, which are registered regional varieties of cheese, 1 more than Italy, 3 times more than the UK. And each French person is estimated to eat between 20 kg and 27 kg of cheese each year, and the business is worth $9 billion annually in France. So it's a big deal over there. Pierre says that we're very spoiled in France in terms of making so many different cheeses because we have 4 different distinct climates and an extremely varied climate. He says, "My dream is that in 20 years' time, someone will say they decided to become a cheesemaker after visiting my cheese museum." This guy's great, man. Loves cheese, passionate about it, opened up a museum. If you're passionate about something, I want to see your museum, man. That's how you spread the word. Spread the passion. Ignite a passion in somebody else who never felt passionate about it until they're like, oh, until I went to the wiffle ball museum, I didn't know what wiffle ball was all about. And now I want to be a wiffle ball pro and open a wiffle ball arena somewhere outside of Philly. Hello, everybody, and thanks for spending some time with Jonesy and the Weird AF News podcast. I'm so grateful for your time and attention. I know there's a gazillion podcasts out there, so I just want to let you know I appreciate you spending some time with mine. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. To the Weird AF News podcast, the only daily weird news podcast in the galaxy. I want to give some love to someone who gave me a very sweet review on Amazon. It's Blaze Bloomer. Blaze Bloomer, what a cool name. Little photo of Blaze. He looks cool, too. Blaze Bloomer is very, very cool, I think. Blaze was so generous, gave me 5 stars and wrote, "Love it," and then wrote, "Part of my morning briefing every morning." Isn't that nice? So just want to give a shout out to Blaze and say how grateful I am that you have made me part of your morning briefing every morning, Blaze. And I hope to continue to deliver entertainment and education for you every morning on your morning briefing. It's a much better option to mainstream news, I believe. Weird AF News. I often say that, but I think mainstream news, especially right now, is a little debilitating for the soul. So turn to Weird AF News for sometimes some laughs, but most of the time, just some fascinating stuff that you're learning about the weird world that we live in, stuff that you never knew about, right? It's pretty cool. I learn all kinds of stuff myself. I'm a very curious person. That's what keeps me going with this podcast in the closet, because it's hard to get someone to stay in a hot closet every day for very little money. It's just very, very hard to do that. But so I'm a curious person. And so I get something out of this, and I hope you do too. Anyways, I'm rambling per usual. It's the caffeine, which I have to thank my donors for. Thank you. A lot of people buy me coffee off my website, weirdafnews.com. That coffee goes right in my gullet and then into my blood it breaks my blood-brain barrier right into the brain. Next thing you know, I'm going 100 miles an hour in a closet. I don't know if it's healthy. I think my doctors don't appreciate what I do to myself for the sacrifices I make for the podcast. You know what I mean? But you got to do it. Got to give the people what they want, man. Got to give them what they want. Anyways, if you want to go to weirdafnews.com, that's how you can support the show. You can buy me a coffee or join the Patreon. That's pretty cool. But also, you don't have to do a damn thing. Just tell a friend maybe. That just takes some time. Of course, you have to speak to a friend, and maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're a loner. Maybe you're a rebel, Dottie. Maybe you stay in your room all day long. I don't know what you're into. In that case, tell the person you're playing video games with in wherever they're at in Sweden that check out the Weird AF News. I prefer listeners that speak English and understand English. I mean, that's really how you get it across is the English. So if they don't speak English, it's probably not recommendable to them. But yeah, English is the way to go. Until I can have enough money to hire people in other languages to do a re-recording of this, But then I'm not sure if it's going to be the same. I don't know if they can hit the inflections that I hit or hit the notes that I hit when I sing. I mean, I hit some notes, guys. I mean, what are we kidding? How are you going to get a host that can do all of this? I mean, it's just very, very rare combination of qualities I have here. Plus, I'm out of my mind. That helps, too. So anyways, I love you very much. Call the show or email me, funnyjones@gmail.com. Please send me articles if you think they're appropriate for the show. Also, follow me on Instagram, @funnyjones. On the gram, @funnyjones. Do it. Got some pretty funny videos I've been uploading.